Episode 3. We open to a mysterious house introducing a brave fledgling demon hunter swearing an oath to protect the world from monsters no matter how big, gross, and scary they are, along with a timid and afraid young boy with glasses. We can see she has a few distinctive features, the most obvious of which being her heterochromia, and immediately we know this is Lieutenant Mary Arkham. Countless drones on Twitter would have you believe that Adi Shankar has managed to make this a more complex character. We'll see how that pans out by the end of this sequence. She goes to the movies and we meet her mother and father, who are unnamed in the show, but fans would know as Kalina Ann and Arkham, referenced in DMC3. In this rendition, she comes from a caring household in which both her parents love her very much. Also, you notice that instead of her father sharing her most distinct feature with her, it is now her mother, because we can't have that come from a man. And what's really insane about that change is just how much subtext it actually undoes. We find out that Lieutenant Arkham's motivation for being a demon hunter was her love of shoot-'em-up films featuring supernatural threats, as opposed to her actual motivation from the game. More on that later. However, I gotta admit, the kid had taste. I'm sure some of you have your own shoot-'em-up monster films you like watching. Anyway, we see the family leaving the cinema to the subway station as they're silently watched by a lingering vagrant who turns out to be a demon, and we see the brave little girl put herself in danger against a threat she doesn't understand. And I get what this moment is supposed to be. We're supposed to respect how brave and fearless she is, but she comes across as a stupid kid that watched too many movies doing something foolish. You know, in other media, when the child lifts the sword, we see people inspire them to take those actions. We see the impression left on the child throughout their youth before the tragic death or the last stand, usually undertaken by a parental figure or mentor, and so we see it as an act of desperation as the child falls back on the only thing they've ever been taught in the face of danger: not to cower, not to quake in fear, not to run, but to lift the fucking sword. But this moment not only tries to fast track this process in a matter of 2 minutes, but deliberately shows and tells us that she only mustered this bravery because she saw it in a movie once. You just can't take it seriously. Not to mention how low fantasy and low intelligence the demons are depicted in this show compared to how we normally see them, or even its 2007 counterpart. I'd also like to point out how this demon here is seen blending into human society to subvert and hunt them, despite what's to come. More on that later. The demon dives to attack Mary and her mother runs to shield her as the cowardly father freezes and does not run to shield his wife. Emasculation fucking continues. In fact, demons are so low fantasy that even the trains demonstrate greater magical prowess as they spawn in an instant out of thin air without any sign they were ever approaching. That, my dear friends, is a plot contrivance. They should be a meal. Next, the father is laughed out of the police station as he tries to report the demon sighting, which is very much in line with a plot featuring poorly kept secrets in dark fantasy, so no complaint there. We see that the father's life is now taken over by this sighting as his wife scolds him for missing work as a college professor for weeks, and he's driven mad to the point of it becoming his life's work in order to protect his family. He states that all that matters is gaining power and the strength to face the darkness, and his wife throws it back in his face with a heated, "Like you protected us in the subway?" They attempt to drip feed this backstory between episodes when none of it after playtime and the movies is of any consequence to Mary's character anyway, and feels like a completely separate and adjacent storyline to why she turned out the way she did. So for the sake of everyone's time and brain cells, I will conclude the backstory here. Fast forward, her father, John, experiments with demon's blood, consumes it, becomes a freak, kills his wife, smashes a flammable set of chemicals, traumatizes his daughter, and the story continues down in flames. A fitting metaphor for what's to come. There's a really good concept brewing here that is ultimately wasted when compared to the original dynamic of this family, so ultimately it fails due to a phenomenon I describe as repainting the Mona Lisa. You know, it's when pretentious assholes like Adi Shankar think it's their job to do it better when they never could if their life depended on it. His grandmother could be captured by the cartel and he'd never be able to muster the genius necessary to remake a DMC3. Cue the title sequence and then back to the episode. We're back in present day watching Lieutenant Arkham modifying her pistols with callback tech akin to Mjolnir as our hero, the one we came here for, is still nursing his ass whooping from the last episode. Why are we following her again and not Dante? Blonde-haired black guy. I mean, seriously, he's just lingering in the background now, making shitty Resident Evil references. Because this show is infatuated with other projects from its franchise. Holy shit. Oh look, Mega Man, sponsored by Capcom. If only they put this much energy into the writing instead of jingling the ever-living fuck out of those keys, we may have actually gotten something good. The tragedy continues with a shallow reference to the Kalina Ann rocket launcher, which name loses all its thematic text, context, and subtext when you remember what kind of family raised her in this show. Another fuck you to fathers because reasons. Pointless dialogue from the Dark Squad, whose code names are not worth remembering, before we get some more technobabble from Black Science Man. The transmitter works precisely as I theorized. Of course it does. Of course. It emits one half of the quantum interference pattern. The rest of the pattern comes from the amulet's other piece. And the simp continues to be the most reasonable character in the show due to being a walking lampshade. He comes across as the writer being preemptively defensive about their shoddy work, rather than this character in particular being naturally curious or inquisitive. It just miasmates of meta debate tactics. He says, so if that thing is needed to destroy the wall between us and the demon realm, how about we smash it right now? This guy just doesn't miss. I don't think they understand how much of a problem this guy really is for the integrity of their narrative. Big fat ass quotes around that. If you have to put a character like this in your story, you lost. By the way, none of these side characters are characters at all. They are quite literally plot devices with voice lines. I shit you not. Black Science Man, lore dump specialist. Blonde-haired black guy. The slow burn everyman with a Pond's twist. Short scouter. Info dump number 2. Nightwing, question mark. Discount Deadshot, fucking question mark. And finally, the simp, the tactical lampshade. Because why write better when you can just neener the audience? And to this very well articulated and thought out question delivered by the tactical lampshade, Black Science Man shouts, no, absolutely no smashing it. The amulet's signal is actively maintaining the quantum wall. And how the fuck do you know this? The natural state of the two realms is to be joined. Do not give me that bullshit. There's no such thing as a natural state when it comes to magic, or sufficiently advanced scientific mechanics like fucking quantum interference theory. If we destroy the transmitter, we don't know what would happen to the stability of either universe. So now we conveniently don't know what would happen based on you reading the script and us having to once again be spoon-fed with a trust me bro disclaimer. God, I hate this show. Back to Dante being bound by human restraints while possessing otherworldly strength. When he gets the bright idea to pick the lock with his fucking shoe buckle, and thank God that goes nowhere as Mary reinforces said restraints and almost roasts a civilian alive. The flamethrowers used being described as a custom anti-Hellblood upgrade despite... Man, do I really need to describe the relationship between demons and fire? She also reminds the audience of the nanites from last episode because this show thinks you wear a helmet. If Dante gets outside of a 1-mile radius, boom. There you go. Even that thing should have trouble from a bomb blowing up in its fucking neck, she says. 1, no, he shouldn't. Did you see how he healed that shotgun blast? It severed his spine and it came back within seconds. This is a conventional nanite explosive. 2, writers, I need you to remember your shit. The nanite was just injected in his neck and flowed through his bloodstream. Hello, Suicide Squad. She has not a clue where the nanite ended up, but by the power of the pen, you just know she's correct. I don't care about blonde-haired black guy's lone survivor subplot, and trust me, you don't either. Next scene. The doctor notices the amulet changing its sequence pattern, which is supposed to be some form of foreshadowing, but it's redundant, so adds nothing. The vice president calls Mary's voice cam to bargain with Dante about using his powers for greater good, while Dante is still depicted as ignorant of his own origin to the point of suspecting he may be a superhero. We've gone over why that's stupid. I won't retread it. But still, after, the VP confirms that Dante bears a demon's legacy and Mary interjects because she hates demons while the VP continues to bargain with Dante, revealing he's the real president as he references his faith, which makes him evil, of course, Christianity bad. They continue to butcher Dante's backstory and character arc because somehow we're supposed to believe that he never asked his mother any questions about his father, he never overheard anything. There was nothing written down. He was never curious, never eavesdropped. His father just left them some powerful heirlooms, but no letters or memoirs. He was just never there without a trace. None of this makes any fucking sense, man. Even Mary echoes the same sentiment I exhibit about the whole debacle, asking, do you really think this whole jabbering moron act is gonna work? The one where you don't know you're a demon? You just happen to be walking around with half the key to fucking hell on your neck? Everyone who is not the least bit connected to his bloodline somehow knows more than him about it, and it feels impossible, even though here he is insisting it's just an old necklace. But he's not lying to protect a secret, he's actually convinced. And on we go. There's a lull in traffic, and Black Science Man summons more omniscient foreshadowing knowledge about the other amulet getting closer before the convoy is ambushed by the rabbit and his demon goons. That's it. That's what's causing the modulation. The signal adjusts in response to the other transmitter's geospatial location to keep the overall pattern in sync, so the other amulet piece must be getting closer. So the street blows up and the rabbit finally attacks, and one of the Dark Squad gets injured with a piece of metal jammed into his leg. And Mary, being the genius she is, just rips it out. I guess the femoral artery is a myth in this universe. And I'm sorry, the rule of cool can save a lot of things, but as a writer, you should at least try to respect the specialists in your audience. Anyone with a medical background would instantly see yanking that shit out like that would have him gushing blood and fading to black within seconds. If you ever get a foreign object stuck in your audience, please do not do this. Leave it in and dial for medical professionals. So anyway, the squad gets scattered. Dante and Enzo are helpless and restrained outside their truck, and the rest of the demons make an appearance. Here is where a long foreshadowed piece of criticism receives its payoff. This show was advertised as being a prequel to Devil May Cry 3, even though it borrows heavily from during Devil May Cry 3 and features enemies from different parts of the Devil May Cry timeline. Plasma from DMC1, Echidna from DMC4, and Cavalier Angelo from DMC5. Stuff like this is why I never take the "I'm a huge fan, trust me bro" statements from studios seriously. It was all a giant lie, and we knew it from the onset, ever since we saw the trailer of him using dual Berettas instead of ebony and ivory. This show is a mixed bag of shit from random points in DMC's history, and absolutely none of it is done any justice. Well, Plasma's design is really good. I have to give them that. But that's pretty much about it. And this next part made me roll my eyes so hard I saw my fucking brain. After the demons hit their op pose, Mary says, "So you want to surrender individually or all at once?" And here's where I'm like, wait. You mean to tell me that the person we're here for doesn't even get first crack at fighting the demon? Why is all the attention focused on Mary? And how are these demons so stupid that she isn't dead within seconds? The rest of the squad mag dumps on the White Rabbit when, oh my god, they actually did it. My question about how the bullets fire has been answered. This, folks, is why you don't get anti-gun people to write about anything with guns in it. Shell casings are being ejected when we clearly see that this round is not encased in anything in prior scenes. I just can't even look at this shit. We see that the rounds don't affect him, and rather than let us remember what was established in prior scenes, the show just decides to lie. This is not a red herring. This is a lie. Tactical Lampshade shouts, "Our bullets don't affect him," while Info Dump 2.0 says, "His DNA is different, a new evolution." And this is why it's important to not turn your brain off when experiencing media. I'm gonna go ahead and replay the voice line from when Mary explained exactly how the anti-demon rounds work. Hit a human, and it works like any other bullet. But hit a demon, and this little liquid explodes the instant it comes in contact with their DNA. That is what was told to us about this ammunition, and I can hear you now. But Kaine, that's not fair. How do you know they're lying? I'll tell you why. Because they know the script, and lying implies intent. We've seen this ammunition in action enough times to know how it works, and this line from Short Scouter here is meant to serve as a red herring and rely on the audience for getting prior exposition. We see a full-blooded demon explode and die in gory fashion when hit by the ammo. A half-blooded demon, thanks Dante, explode and survive when hit with the ammo because it has less effectiveness when you have human DNA, and absolutely no effect when the rabbit gets hit with the ammo. more on that later. And the most criminal part of this entire episode is how 5 whole boss level demons can't kill this one human woman. And people wonder why Mary is so hated. Not only does she steal screen time from the actual protagonist, but she regularly cheats certain death with God's blessing. Suspension of disbelief? Never heard of it. Speaking of which, their standoff is interrupted by the reveal that blonde-haired black guy was working with the rabbit the whole time. What? No way! And the reason is because his daughters are being held ransom. Ah, man, does anyone else just not give a damn? This character, if you could even call him that, doesn't even have an arc. We never meet his family, experience any hardship, go on any journey with him. He's just dropped into our laps. We're never at his side, and suddenly I'm supposed to be invested. No, just put the amulet in the bag, little bro, so we can get on with the real plot beats. Dante is still struggling to free himself as the rabbit claims his prize, and Black Science Man says, "You have the amulet, the sword, transmitter, and decoder. Why aren't you using them? Why not open the rift here and now?" And this piece of dialogue is necessary because they failed to properly set up another cherry-picked piece of Sparta's lore. Those who played Devil May Cry 3 already know what was actually required to open the gate to the demon realm, but more on that later. Black Science Man figures out the rabbit still needs a decryption key, and for some reason, completely out of nowhere, he decides to attack him with a keyboard, only to be impaled by Force Edge. Man, I don't know whether to be impressed or mortified. It's crazy that even with such little characterization of this man, they still managed to undo it. In prior scenes, he literally says, "My mind is too valuable to waste in a combat zone." And here he is, throwing himself straight into the meat grinder. After that, he still tries to keep up with blonde-haired black guy's ruse as a double agent, even though anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together would be suspicious of him surviving 2 run-ins in a row with the rabbit who's been shown to kill everyone in his path. After he throws blonde-haired black guy out of the truck, Black Science Man calls out to him, "Hey rabbit, hop away from this." And I'm like, what? He's still alive? He made his sword and your spine shake hands. How are you able to move? So he throws a grenade and the rabbit parries it while closing the door, leading to one of the most contrived deaths I've ever seen in fiction. And here I am at a crossroads. I should defend how stupid they make Black Science Man look despite his characterization, but I care so little about him that I have no desire to do so, man. The only reason he acts this irrationally is because the writers want to remove what they believe is your only window of knowledge into the mechanics of this world to foster a fake sense of shock and uncertainty. The death of Black Science Man symbolizes the death of narrative predictability that mirrors the protagonist's loss of control. And it just doesn't work for this show because everyone knows too damn much. This guy wasn't a mentor, he wasn't a guide, he wasn't a source of knowledge for Dante, he wasn't a surrogate for the eyes of the audience. Why would we care if he got killed? This is the problem you get with tell first, show actions later storytelling. I don't have to read scenes because someone will always be there to pry open my jaws and airplane exactly what's going on right down my esophagus. And so his death means nothing because the training wheels stay on forever. Dante and Enzo discover the rabbits won both amulets, and Dante finally gets free from his restraints with help from blonde-haired black guy. This show is so fucking bad. Who cares? He's only the main character. What does it matter that the story only allows him to be capable when it's convenient? The rabbit notices Dante is free and takes aim at a school bus full of children, ignoring the cliche. We see Dante is fast enough to outrace the rocket and block it with his sword before the rabbit somehow makes it to his getaway vehicle. Enzo celebrates Dante's heroism and is abducted. What the fuck do they need him for? You could say he's bait to lure Dante, but they already have Force Edge and the combined amulet. What possible purpose could his abduction even serve? Once the rabbit gets away, Dante grabs the nearest spontaneously generated motorcycle and goes after them. Brace yourself, because we're in for a good bit of hollow, meaningless action. We get a highway chase scene in which which Dante fights all 5 of the demon gang in pursuit of his mother's amulet, seemingly unaware of what happened to Enzo. I would show you the scene, but let's try to keep it down to 1 copyright strike, shall we? Somewhere in the middle of the action, either Agni or Rudra says, "Damn, he's cool," as if Dante ever needed the enemy to validate him, or that we had to be told, otherwise we wouldn't get it. After he evades Cavalier Angelo, he's chasing the rabbit and we see his eyes glow red, giving him the strength to close in on him when the nanite bomb from the last episode detonates, because he's gone beyond 1 mile outside the city. Logically, it works, but it doesn't land like it should because the writers are deathly afraid to let you forget this in particular. Most of the time, setups and payoffs benefit from the time in between. So many things usually have happened that the audience has time to forget about the gun that was placed on the shelf in the last episode. Here, you're made immediately aware of that thing that was so important that happened in the last episode. And then, for some reason, not only does Dante not instantly regenerate, the rabbit stops his truck in the middle of traffic to deliver some cryptic bullshit about needing to push Dante harder. See, this is what I meant in my episode 1 review. The rabbit, he's just pretending that this payoff set up by a completely different character that he doesn't know was all his idea. He's not shocked. He doesn't use the moment to get away. He just participates. Why? This had nothing to do with him. He should be confused. And after that, we get a scene of Plasma needing a new body and completely ruining any mystique surrounding how his powers work. It wasn't enough that we got a demonstration in the first episode. No, you put that filthy imagination away, peasant. You can only interpret what we tell you to interpret. I really didn't want to quote his exposition, but as my civic duty to expose garbage, here you go. It's your lucky day. See, my power works off of quantum mirroring. I can only take on a new body if I'm copying a form made of living tissue, which means I need to keep you alive. And then he shoots the brown one of you. Why is he telling them this? Who knows? Why did he use a gun? Beats me. What the fuck happened to the baby in episode 1?
Why did the goblin turn on the stove?
Fuck if I know, but that's the end of the episode. And you can rest assured that your questions will never be answered. So what do we have here, folks? An upstaged protagonist info dump, contradiction of nebulous world mechanics, ham-fisted character backstories, disrespect of the specialists in the audience, disrespect of the source material, and finally, another recurring sin of this show, relentless spoon-feeding. And with that, I've gone on long enough. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the links in the description to keep your finger on the pulse of Cosmogoth. This is your gracious host, Kaine Walker. I'm signing off, and I will see you all again next time in episode 4. Peace.